Your brain is actually calculating numbers as you speak. You just don't even know it. And like many other things, numbers are the universal language, basically like a lateral meaning. And I did a lot of learning through this process. And one of the things I did find was God. And for me, God is life. And the way that I found it was starting to understand how all the things are interconnected, how everything works together. And when you see it in mass, it's nothing short of spectacular. Like it's just life is just this incredible piece of art. Just wow. Okay, fun experiment time. And when I say fun, understand I'm a really big geek. So you're going to need 2 people for this fun experiment and a little bit of pre-planning. What you're going to do is you're going to have a conversation, and you have to plan it in advance and make the subject asexual, like something really boring. First conversation you're going to have, and you're going to plan the conversation to be 1-to-1 ratio wise. So as in each party is saying the exact same number of words. And then I want you to plan the next conversation with a different ratio. I want you to do it in 2-to-1 or 1.5, whatever. Doesn't really matter. What you will find is in this experiment is that as soon as you start to increase the words on one side, it doesn't even matter what you're talking about. It starts to sound aggressive. And that's because it is. The numbers mirror the sentiment, lateral meaning. Now, human beings are meant to bond. And in lieu of another human being to bond to, I think in almost all circumstances, they find a God or they find a connection to God. And it always happens this way. And I think humanity-wide, this is on purpose. Because in society, if you're not bonding with each other like you need to find God. That means society has a very significant problem. And when you look back at humanity at times that religions rise, it's always at a time that human beings are not bonding with each other. A time when people need change that occurs outside of themselves. Kind of poetic, right? Humanity is built to save itself. So this was mirrored for me in real life. So in the depths of the hellscape that I went through, I experienced something I call bombing. Now I have coined this in the report. If you haven't read it, I'll also put it up on screen. So bombing is basically harassment plus petty crime, right? So it's harassment plus, moving stuff around in your house, taking things out of your room, locking things up on the property, like just small things that independently wouldn't be that bad, but happening in bulk, like when you're getting harassed and you get this stuff constantly thrown at you, that's what I call bombing. And what it does is it completely takes away your sense of psychological safety. You're just always on edge because it's like, where is the next thing? Where is it coming from? Now, expecting people to be normal functioning parts of society while experiencing something like this is completely irrational. And knowing what I went through and all the little moments that I could have not ended up okay, I wonder how many people have experienced this and ended up on the street. How many? Anyways, the internal counting was mirrored for me in real life. I tried to sustain friendships. I really did, going through what I went through. But most of my social group are big people doing big things, and they're very busy. And what would happen is I would only get to talk to them once every, 2 or 3 weeks for an hour. And because there was so much happening in my life, because there was so much trauma and harassment and other shit going on, I would take the entire 45 minutes for myself. right? It would just be all about me, and I would like be word vomiting on my friends, and I would get to the end, and this is where I understood that I had an internal counter. Because at the end of the conversations, I would feel guilt. Like I would feel guilt about that conversation. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't give you any time so that you can share parts of your life with me, right? It was all one sided. My brain naturally recognized that. And as I started to focus more on the bulk of conversations, it started to become very clear. When you're sitting lateral to somebody and you neurologically are lateral to them as well, you speak one to one. I think if we put together a whole bunch of metrics on conversations that are heated and not heated, I think the numbers will tell the story quite clearly.